Hello, I'm Dr. Basavaraj Dinnimath, Assistant Professor from KLE College of Pharmacy, Hubli. In today's session, I'm going to talk on the Pharmacy Act 1948. As we all know, Chopra Committee, which is known as Drugs Inquiry Committee, has submitted its report in 1931 and recommended for the constitution of a separate act for the profession of pharmacy known as Pharmacy Act. In the aftermath of that, the Pharmacy Act was constituted in 1948 to monitor the profession of pharmacy and education qualifications for the pharmacists. So this today's discussion Pharmacy Act, I'm going to mainly talk on the constitution, composition and functioning of the Pharmacy Council of India, state pharmacy councils, its composition, functions of Pharmacy Council of India and SPCs, then education regulations and central register, and giving approvals and withdrawing approvals of educational qualifications. So in 1947, Pharmacy Bill was amended, which later became the Pharmacy Act in 1948, that is on 8th March 1948. From then onwards, the Pharmacy Act came into effect for the entire India. And in 1949, this Pharmacy Council of India, which is known as Central Council, was constituted under the provisions of the Pharmacy Act. So as we have just discussed, Drugs Inquiry Committee, that is Chopra Committee, recommended for the constitution of this Pharmacy Act, and the major objectives of this is to regulate the profession of pharmacy in India, which mainly related to the educational institutions and profession of pharmacy, practice of pharmacy, to constitute the Central Council, which is later known as Pharmacy Council of India, to monitor the entire profession of pharmacy, then to frame education, regulations and qualifications and training for the pharmacists who aspire to become the pharmacists, and for the colleges who wish to conduct the course of pharmacy. To minimum central register, maintain a central register of pharmacists in India, which has got the information about the registered pharmacists from different states of India. And finally, to give and withdraw, if necessary, the approvals which are given to the educational institutions who are conducting the course of pharmacy. The Pharmacy Council of India, which is commonly known as the Central Council, this council came into effect in 1949, and it will be reconstituted every 5 years. This council will have 3 types of members in its composition, known as elected members, nominated members and ex officio members. And this Pharmacy Council of India will have a president and vice president, usually elected from the members, usually elected members. It will also have a registrar and a secretary, either or both, and a treasurer to look after the financial transactions of the Central Council. And it will also have executive committee which will assist the main body in certain policy making activities. So the composition in detail. First segment is elected members, which will have 6 members, among whom 1 teacher from these subjects like pharmacy, pharmaceutical chemistry, pharmacognosy and pharmacology, nominated by UGC. Then 6 members, among whom 4 should possess a degree or diploma in pharmacy, who is a registered pharmacist nominated by the central government. Then one member amongst the members of the Medical Council of India as a representative of MCI. It will also have nominated members from UGC and AICTE. In the ex officio members category, the Director General of Health Services, the Drugs Controller of India, then the Director of Central Drugs Laboratory of India. These are the ex officio members of the Central Council. Functions of the Pharmacy Council of India. These are the main functions: to prescribe minimum standards of educational qualifications required for the pharmacists in India. Then drafting of educational regulations and its uniform implementation throughout India in educational institutions. Then inspection of the education institutions by the pharmacy inspectors appointed by the Central Council based on the recommendations of which the approval will be given to the education regulations. Approval of the education institutions and their withdrawal if necessary based on the report submitted by the PCI inspectors, and to compile and maintain a central register of pharmacists in India. So these are the important functions of Pharmacy Council of India. Apart from that, it will also coordinate with the central government in making certain policies and decisions related to the drugs and pharmaceuticals in India. The Central Register. So it's a document which is maintained by the Registrar of the Central Council, which contains the compiled information of the registered pharmacists of India from different states. So different states pharmacy councils will give the names and address of the registered pharmacists from their state to the Central Council on 1st of April every year, and this compiled information will be maintained by the PCI in this document known as Central Register. It's a very important document. Then approval, giving approval and withdrawal of approvals to education institutions. This is another important functions of PCI under the provisions of the Pharmacy Act. So Pharmacy Council of India will appoint some PCI inspectors, Pharmacy Council of India inspectors, usually from the academic segment, who will visit the educational institutions and submit a report or recommendations to the executive committee. If the report is satisfactory, then Pharmacy Council of India will give approval to the education institutions, and if the report is not satisfactory, it may withdraw the approvals given to the education institutions already. So the observations of the PCI inspectors, which is going to be submitted in the report to the executive committee, is very important criteria for the approvals. And the Central Council shall, this is a very important requirement for the students who educate from these institutions and wish to register as registered pharmacists in India. If they study from an approved institution, they are eligible for registration, otherwise not. State Pharmacy Council. So under the provisions of Act, the Pharmacy Act, each state pharmacy council can have its own state pharmacy council. In some cases, provision is given for the joint state pharmacy councils, wherein 2 or 3 states can enter into an MOU to operate under a same state pharmacy council, comprising of the representatives from each participating state. So the composition of the Pharmacy Council, State Pharmacy Council, is like this. It will have elected members and ex officio members. The elected members will comprise of 6 members elected from amongst themselves by registered pharmacists of the state. Then 5 members, of whom at least 3 persons possess a degree or diploma in pharmacy or pharmaceutical chemistry. Then 1 member elected amongst the members of the Medical Council of India of the state branch. Then ex officio members category will have the following officers: the Chief Administrative Medical Officer of the state, then the officer in charge of the Drugs Control Organization, and government analyst. So these are the members of the state pharmacy councils. And the major functions is to coordinate with the Pharmacy Council of India, maintaining a register of the pharmacists of the state and submitting a copy of it to the Central Council for compiled information in the central register. Then state pharmacy councils can also appoint some pharmacy inspectors who will visit the premises licensed for sale and distribution of the drugs. These pharmacy inspectors can submit their report after visiting these premises licensed for sale and distribution to the State Pharmacy Council, which will be recommended for further action to the controlling authority. So these are the important functions of State Pharmacy Council. Then education regulations. These are very important guidelines given by the Pharmacy Council of India. Pharmacy Council of India is vested with the powers under the provisions of the Act to frame education guidelines, which are known as education regulations, as and when possible. So this will include minimum standards of educational requirements for qualification as pharmacist in India, then the nature and period of study and practical training to be undertaken by the students before admission to the examination, and the equipments and the facilities given to the students by the educational institutions. So in this, education regulations are very much important because the registered pharmacist, the student who becomes registered pharmacist should study the official course which is framed by and approved by the Pharmacy Council of India, which will have both theoretical study as well as practical training as given by the Pharmacy Council of India. So the education regulations for diploma, B Pharm and PharmD will be separately framed. Thank you.